Welcome to Life Beyond B.S, where we ditch the belief systems and the bullshit and get real about life. Here it's about awareness, choice, and creating joy that actually lasts. No perfection, just honest talk and powerful change. I'm your host, Heather McNally, and let's get into it. Hi, friends, and welcome back to Life Beyond B.S, where we go beyond the belief systems and, the bullshit that society puts on us. I'm Heather McNally, your host, and I'm super excited to be here today with my fantastic guest. Today, I'm honored to welcome author Lynn M. the writer behind the heartfelt memoir, Porch Time with Lynnie, A Place for Healing. Lynn's story is one of love, faith, and resilience. As a mother of three, her life took an unexpected turn when the man she loved was diagnosed with kidney failure. What followed was a journey through caregiving, uncertainty, and emotional challenges that tested her strength in ways that she never imagined. Through faith and perseverance, Lynn found healing through writing. Porch Time with Lynnie invites readers into a place of reflection and honesty, much like sitting on a front porch with a friend, where difficult stories can be shared and hope can still be found. A proud resident of Hermann, Missouri, Lynn is passionate about encouraging others who may be facing illness, caregiving, grief, or life's unexpected turns. Please join me in welcoming author Lynn M. Thank you so much for being here today, Lynn.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited about
I'm
this.
so thrilled. Yeah, we're going to have a great conversation. Everybody, we had a pre-conversation the other day and we just talked and talked and talked. So get ready, sit down like you're sitting at your porch with a friend, and this is going to be great. So, Lynn, I'd love to start here with who are you at your heart and soul beyond the roles of mom, caregiver, and author?
Well, mom, number one, I have three grown men. My youngest is 27, my oldest is 36. I'm a new mom-in-law. I have finally a daughter. They got married in November, so pray for
Congrats.
grandbabies soon. They dated for 10 years, so it was time. Common
Mhm.
law marriage in Missouri. They've been married for about ever. Who is Lynn? Lynn is a full-time worker. Beyond all of that, I like to consider myself a good friend. I have a heart that just loves to give and give and give. And sometimes that hurts, and sometimes I get taken advantage of on that. So I wear my heart on my sleeve. I work full time. We run a small business, my husband and I like to do crafts. I like scrapbooking. I like crocheting. I like to cook. I don't like to clean up the mess, but who does, right?
I can
Um,
relate.
we have a corgi puppy. Her name is Bubbles, and she is just a little over a year old. So pretty much it.
So
I don't
cute.
have a lot of her time.
I'm a dog mom. I'm a
Yep.
dog mom and I love that.
I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, I didn't think I could ever love a dog as much as I do her. Just her little face and her sassy personality. If anybody has a corgi, they know how they can be. We just love her.
It's obvious that you love being a mom and a caretaker. So what I want to do is I want to go back for a moment to what it was like before everything changed for you, to what a normal kind of day or life looked like for you before everything happened with your husband when he became ill.
So I was a almost divorced mom of three young boys, the youngest being less than two. So the situation that they were in, it just wasn't good for any of us. So when I met Mr. Wonderful, it was it was basically love at first sight. He was my soulmate. So it was really cool that we connected so well. He was very romantic and very attentive to the needs of the kids and me, and he actually has a son. So I had four boys in my house, and we both had different jobs, and then we both lost our jobs right about the same time. It's in the book, but we started at a unemployment agency. We ran unemployment claims for people all over the United States. And we rode together back and forth to work. And then he popped the question, and we got married at our house on our front porch. It was a true romantic. We worked an hour away, so we get home, the boys would be ready to eat, pick up the kids from daycare. And so it was just a normal, like you would imagine, white picket fence type
Mm.
romance. We had our problems, don't get me wrong, we had our problems, but he was everything. He completed me, and I think I completed him. So
Hmm. Yeah. So the porch theme is coming around more than once because that's part of your book,
it
and
is
I
true.
love that.
It is
Yeah,
true.
the universe gave you the porch and the experiences of being there. When your husband was diagnosed with kidney failure, what was the first thought or feeling that you remember hitting you?
He's going to die. He's dying.
Mm,
I'm going to lose the man that I love. He's going to die. And I remember going to a friend and just sobbing. We got this horrible diagnosis. Well, a little bit of the backstory is his dad also had the same kidney issue, and his dad died the same year we got married. So in my
mm,
head, he's going to die. So I went to the friend and I'm sobbing, and she's like, "Why are you killing him already?
mm,
There are many things that he's not dead. Don't do this to you and don't do this to me." But that was my very first thought. Maybe the very first thought is, you doctors are stupid, you're lying. But then
mhm.
it was, he's going to die.
Yeah. It's
So
like going through grief already before it's even happened. And
because
that's
I
something tricky that our brain does.
because I saw what his dad went through. I saw what his mom went through with his dad. So yes,
Mhm.
that was stupid brain. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's what our brain does, and it's no fault of ours. It's what our brain naturally goes to. Our brain wants to protect us, keep us safe, and it does not look for the positive. You have to force it. You have to feed it. Let's put it that way. You have to feed your brain. And
Right?
so when we get in that fight, flight, freeze mode, we're there, and it's really important to try to breathe or do something to get yourself out of that moment to be able to start to rationally think and start using your prefrontal cortex, because otherwise it's what's happening,
Right.
and it doesn't serve us in the long term. So I'm sure it was devastating to hear, but your friend was right, like gave you a different perspective. So did that change for you how you handled the situation going forward, or did you just have to try to keep it in mind?
I kept it in the back of my mind, but also I had a family that I couldn't let see me crumbling. I may have crumbled many times inside during all of that, but it did stay in the back of my mind.
Mhm.
And then if you read the book, you're going to understand why that was always in the back of my mind
Yeah, yeah.
without giving away too.
So what was your husband's response when he found out?
I think we were both in shock, and shock fell into our laps a lot. Um, he he big guy, 6'2", 200 and some odd pounds. You don't cry. You cry at Monsters
Mm,
Inc., but you don't cry in front of your wife. So
yeah.
he was pretty brave about it, and we both said, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to get through this. People are on dialysis every day, and they survive.
Mhm.
And we had some good doctors. We had some really great nurses, so they kept us going.
Mm. Those nurses are the ones who pull you through, that
Oh yeah,
hold your hand, that give you the advice, that listen to what you're saying. Because as you and I have discussed previously, and we can talk more about the advocacy, when you are in a situation where somebody is terminally ill, you know the person, you know him. The doctors and the nurses may know what's happening physically to the
right.
body, but you know him. So you have to stand up and say, and the nurses are always the ones that really hear what you have to say and help you navigate. So thank God you had those people.
We did.
So
We
from the
had some
time
really good.
that, yeah. So from the time that you found out that he was ill, that he was terminally ill, how long had you been together before that you got that diagnosis and that information? And how long was it from there?
We found out that his numbers were not good. His primary doctor said, your numbers aren't good. You need to go see a specialist and let's see what's going on. So, hopeless romantic people that we are, we scheduled it for our seventh wedding anniversary. We go into the doctor, and again, a lot of that's in the story. I won't give away a lot of it, but we went in on our seventh anniversary and walked out thinking our life was over because he was told he'll probably be on dialysis by Christmas, and our anniversary was in September that quick. But in that meantime, when you hear that notice, there are many, many things. If nobody knows anybody that's ever been on dialysis, they want to put in ports. They want to put in, how are you going to do the dialysis? Are you going to do the peritoneal? Are you going to do the hemo? Hemo is blood dialysis. Peritoneal is through the belly. We had to go to classes. We had to learn we decided to do the peritoneal. So we had to learn how to set up the machines. We probably took stock out in baby wipes and alcohol pads and mask. We probably had more of that than anybody could ever imagine because he couldn't even go swimming in a public pool because of that port. If any germs got in
Mm,
there, he could get a very serious infection and he would be in the hospital for weeks. So our seventh anniversary is when we found out.
mm.
So we had been together
Wow.
maybe 8 years.
Because then you have the beautiful side of your love story and the wedding on the porch and your life together. And on the same day that you're celebrating that life together, you're getting this devastating news and you don't know what that means for your future.
Right.
And it's kind of like when you meet that person, you have this life planned out for you in a way. Not
Sure
every
do.
moment, not everything you're going to do, but you have like all these years ahead of you. And then, bam, you hit this wall and you've got a different reality all of a sudden. So, do you feel that that changed your relationship at all and that changed either one of you?
Yes, it did change us. I think in many ways it made us much stronger, but yet a lot of intimacy changed. A lot of traveling things changed because he's on dialysis. If we need to travel, we need to be prepared. And again, if nobody's ever been on dialysis and doesn't have a clue, they send you these 10, 15, 20-pound bags of fluid that you have to run through your system every day. And let's say we were going on a trip for a week. We had to figure out how many days we're going to be gone, how many bags of fluid times how many days we were going to be gone. And we had to carry all of that stuff with us to go places. I can remember taking the boys camping one weekend and we were going for just a couple of days, so we had to carry like 20 boxes of fluid with us because, God forbid, if one of those bags of fluid got a hole in it or wasn't
Mm,
set up properly, we had to throw it because we couldn't take the
yeah.
chances of him getting peritoneal infection. So yes,
Hmm.
it did change our lives a lot, but I think we stayed strong enough and our faith kicked in during those times. So it did bring us
Hmm.
closer that way.
Yeah. And how did it affect your children?
We tried to keep the kids as normal as possible. There were many, many, many days, weeks, months that we were in and out of the house and they had to grow up fast. They grew up fast.
Hmm.
We invested in a toaster oven so that they wouldn't burn the house down, so that they could make pizza. We bought
Yeah.
pizza by the cases and hot dogs so that they could learn to cook on their own because we were away from the house.
Yeah. And I can so relate to this because My mom was terminally ill with COPD and she ended up with a lung transplant. And once you get a diagnosis, you have to start looking at things differently because, like you said, you still have life to live. So, how are we going to move through life so that we can still live this life
Right.
but also take care of yourself. So we had the same thing. And then she was lucky enough that she got a lung transplant, but you trade one disease for another. So she was able to breathe, but the medications and her body didn't respond the way most people did. You've got your average for a reason because there are people who are average, above average, and below average. And she unfortunately didn't respond the same way a lot of other people did. And
Right.
so she ended up having a lot of problems. She ended up also in kidney failure. She ended up on dialysis. She had a fistula placed. So she actually went to a location,
Mm-hmm.
and that limits your life too because you do it, what, 3 times a week?
3 times a
So
week and
the
several
days,
hours.
yeah, and you can't move. And so you're sitting in this chair for hours and hours. She couldn't see because she was legally blind. So she just sat there for hours. So I would go and sit with her, and other people would sit with her. But you have to understand how much it changes your life
Yeah.
because it changes whether you can travel or not, how often you have to be somewhere. Dialysis is exhausting. How did the dialysis take a toll on him and you?
Me, it was just un until a certain point, he took care of setting up his machines every night. So until a certain
Mhm,
point, he took care of all of that. So it didn't affect me as much. I
mhm,
think the dialysis made him feel better because, again, he did the peritoneal. He did it every night at home. So it was like his own body was doing it, not to sit in a chair for 3, 4, 5, however many hours they need to do that. And then on top of it, especially with the hemodialysis, you have to really watch everything you eat. Peritoneal
mhm.
wasn't as bad. We had to watch certain things. We really cut out the salt and we cut out certain things. One of the big things that everybody always jokes about is, and not really joke about, but they say you can't eat potatoes.
Mm.
You can't eat potatoes. What? Everything is made of potatoes. You got French fries, you got potatoes. But a way around that with his dad, especially his mom would soak the potatoes for hours so that dad could eat potatoes. I'm sure they didn't taste as
Wow.
good, but
Mm,
it did change our lives, kind of tolls. Again, it didn't affect me as much, except that he also worked from home. I was blessed to be working at home during that time. So he got to work from home,
mhm,
but I had to go and hook him up to the afternoon dialysis, which sat on a pole and would drain. And then as soon as that got done, then I had to unhook it because he couldn't do a lot of that. So I had to do a lot of that for him. And that way he could work, I could work. It was like, okay, it's been 45 minutes, it should be done. I'll run in there and see. So
mm.
that took a toll.
Yeah.
But other than
I
that,
mean, in
yeah,
some ways it runs your life, but at the same time you have the life.
exactly.
So it's very much a dual life, dual reality, because you have this that you have to deal with, but you also still have the life together.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what got me through. Okay, he's here. He's here with me. I can do, we can do.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what it felt like to be a caregiver because your role was wife and mom and working and living this life. And then all of a sudden it changed and you become a caregiver and you become an advocate. So tell me a little bit about how it felt to do that.
Hindsight's 2020, number one. I
Mhm,
was blessed to be able to do that. But during that time, you go from a strapping man, as I said, 6'2", 200 blah blah pounds, to a slow shell of that same man that you have to do so much for. Again, without giving away too much of the book, our lives changed completely.
mhm.
360. It was, oh my God, what the hell did I get myself into? I did not see that on the dotted line when I said I do. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
blessed to be able to do it, but what the hell did I get myself into? And who I lost me. I lost Lynnie, who could come and go as she needed to, who could take her husband come and go to who am I? Where do I fit in?
Mhm.
What do I like to do? What do I want to do? So that was a big shock.
Yeah. And it's something that you can have in your mind that you would take care of somebody no matter what. But until you're in the position of caring for somebody and being responsible for making sure that things happen, making sure that they're okay and healthy, making sure that you work on their mental health, and you've got your own mental health to take care
Mm.
of, and then you had kids at the same time.
I have a
So
very good
it's
friend
a lot.
whose husband has some issues. I don't really know what's all going on, but he has some issues walking. He used to play baseball, he used to play basketball. And she come up to me, he had some issues with his legs to where he couldn't walk. And she's like, Lynn, how the hell did you do that for all of those years? Yours is 10 times worse than what I'm dealing with, but how? And you
Mhm,
just do. You have two choices. You do or you don't. If you
mhm,
don't, you're letting down that loved one. You're letting down your children. You're letting down the family and friends. But if you do, suck it up, buttercup. You got to move on. And you just keep moving
mhm.
forward, one step in front of the other, one breath at a time. That's how you
Yeah,
do it.
absolutely. There are things that you just have to up for in this life. And I will say, and you can speak for yourself on how you felt about it, but I don't regret 1 minute of every ounce of everything I did for my mom, from physically taking care of her, from driving her to all her appointments, going and doing her medications every week, from being her advocate for the person that
Yeah.
I knew and loved and I knew what she needed and she couldn't articulate it. For all of that, having young children and a husband who is working and having to take care of them for me in the evening so I can go and do things with her, I wouldn't give up any of that because I know that I did it out of love, I did it out of respect, I did it out of caring. So tell me, how do you feel about that? Hindsight is 2020, yes, it's hard, but would you change anything other than, of course, a different outcome?
I would have asked for, I know you're not supposed to ask for this, but I would have asked for more patience and understanding because it was hard. Because again,
Hmm.
big, strong man who can't do things for himself. No, I would not change a thing. I would do it all over again just to have him here and to be able to love on him when I could. But no, I again have to be that advocate for them. You have to.
Yeah.
And I made a vow. I swore to God and everybody that I would till death do us part. And I wasn't going, I could have walked away. I could have many, many times just said, nope, didn't sign up for this. Go live with your mom. But I couldn't do that. That's against everything I believe. My mom taught me well. You
Mhm.
made your bed, you lay in it, and you do what you need to do. And I did. And I get no, I wouldn't
Mhm.
change it. I would do it all over again in a heartbeat.
So let's talk a little bit about advocacy. Because being a caregiver for somebody, and it's the same thing as being a parent in some ways. When you're a parent, you have to advocate for your children. And sometimes I will say, I look back at things, and there were times where I wish I had stepped up and said something sooner than I did. But I also was a new mom. This was a new experience for me. Just like often when you become a caregiver, it's a new experience for you when it's somebody, a parent, a spouse. And I think that you can't beat yourself up over things that you didn't know, but you learn from everything you go through.
Yeah.
So there were times in my life when I wish I had spoken up a little earlier with my kids and maybe stepped in and intervened sooner, but also we all learned from it. And so it's kind of the same thing. nobody gives you a manual or says this is how you advocate because everybody's different, everyone's circumstances are different. There are some things that are kind of universal, but tell me a little bit about that advocate role and how you managed to navigate that without having that rule book.
Yep, that rule book does not apply. I thought about writing a book about it. I
Mhm.
did start a book on kidney dialysis, but I didn't finish that.
Mhm.
Being a caregiver, being an advocate for an ill person is tough. One, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, and I don't even play one on TV. But you learn, you listen, you watch, and even
Mhm.
common sense comes into that. You know that certain things have to be done. I'll give you a little snippet. You know what? I'll tell you one that's not even in the book. How about that? He was in a hospital setting somewhere and he was diabetic, taking insulin. So we had a nurse come in and wanted to give him his insulin before dinner. His mom and I both were there, and his mom said, "Did you check his blood sugar?" And she's like, "No, it's not that much insulin. It's not going to hurt him." And I said, "No, what is his blood sugar?" And she's like, "It's okay. It's not going to hurt him." I said, "No, you will take his blood sugar now and find out what it is." She took it, and he was already at an 89. The norm is
Mhm.
90 to like 120-ish. If they would have given him that
Yeah.
insulin, it could have killed him.
Yeah.
So I am a nice person, but
Mhm.
don't mess with my loved ones and don't be stupid when you're a nurse or a doctor.
Yeah.
So we went outside and we had a heated conversation. I don't know if she got fired, but she was not his nurse anymore. So that's
Mm.
how that's what you got to do. You've got to pay attention to what's going on. And that's
Yeah.
not the only case that took place. So, as an advocate, you can be very polite. And I started off
Mhm.
polite, but it turned into, no, 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 you're no.
Yeah.
So, speak up, listen, pay attention, take and keep notes. Woulda,
Mm.
coulda,
Yes.
shoulda. I could have made a double size book. I could have had a sequel on just the second half of everything, but keep notes and pay attention to what's going on.
Yes. Advocacy is so incredibly important when you have somebody who can't speak for themselves for whatever reason, doesn't know how to speak for themselves. I mean, look at children. They don't necessarily know how to speak up. They haven't learned yet.
Right,
They might explain something, but they don't know how to put it into words.
right,
As the parent, you understand what their normal behavior is, what they're normally physically like, what they're normally emotionally
right.
like. So you have the information. And I used to work at Children's Hospital in Boston. And I worked with a nurse who said to me, and this is way before I had children, she said, the parents or caregivers know their children best. You
Right,
need to listen to the parents and the caregivers because even though average person doesn't have that happen to them or normally with this situation they won't be feeling X, Y, and Z, but she said the parents know these children inside and out,
right,
and they're the ones who can explain that this is how they're actually behaving, this is
right,
why I'm coming to you with these concerns. And it's the same thing as for an advocate for anybody else. When my mom was going through her illness, there were times that she was put on medication that didn't agree with her, and they actually changed her mental status, and so
right,
she wasn't able to articulate things during those times. I started noticing that she wasn't able to eat, and I'm asking her about it, and she's not able to really fully articulate what's going on. And so I knew her well, and I also developed relationships with her medical team to the point where I was at every appointment. I was the one who called most of the time. They would call me to talk about things. And so they understood that I knew the situation. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I don't play one on TV either. But I I could have been a nurse by the time everything was done, and I actually
exactly.
considered going to nursing school.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
But it's that ability to understand the situation and the person and who they are and the intricacies of that understanding, that intimate understanding that you have of the person, that you need to stand up for people sometimes and
Right.
advocate. It's so important.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so, how do you feel about how that did that change your relationship with your husband at all when you had to advocate for him?
No, I don't. I mean, maybe in his eyes, but not in
Hmm.
mine. I mean, I get,
Yeah,
yeah, you think, come on, talk up, speak up. But he couldn't a lot of times. Like you said, they can't sometimes, but maybe I don't know. I never asked him, did me standing up for you make things better or worse? I don't know. But
yeah,
again, I had to. I had to.
yeah. I'm sure it made it better because he knew somebody was there more
And
than
you're
they could
probably right.
themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So emotionally, what toll did that take on you to be that advocate and to be the one who had to stand up and say these things and make sure that people were really listening?
There were many times I felt like a bitch. Many, many,
Mhm.
many times because and I don't know anybody who has been through any kind of medical whatever. You go
Mhm.
into these hospitals and you see 1,800 different doctors, nurses, and interns and everything.
Mhm.
Nobody reads notes. Nobody
Mhm.
reads paperwork. You could be sitting in the room telling one doctor this whole long story, and as soon as he walks out and has typed all of this stuff into his little computer or her computer, the next doctor walks in the next day and is like, "So tell me, what are you here for?"
Yeah.
So emotionally, that was tough because I am not one, and this is probably where it got worse through his illness, patience. Again, I should have
Mhm.
hindsight's 2020, and I know you're not supposed to ask for patience, but I should have been praying for patience because I think my patience started running very thin, and that was my biggest. Was I heartbroken? No, I was just tired. I was pissed off most of the time
Mhm.
because I got tired of the game. And again, in the
Yeah.
book, as you read that book, you're going to see a pattern. And
Hmm.
it's tough. But so that is probably my worst emotional thing was I just didn't have patience.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking for patience. I think that we all lose that sometimes, and especially when you're in the thick of it. It's not like you were going through just a hard day.
Right.
You were going through the terminal illness of your spouse, the love of your life, the father of his child and stepfather of your children, a
Mhm.
huge, huge part of who you were. And it completely changed the dynamics. It changed the way you had to live. It changed everything. So give yourself grace for what you were going through at the time. And again, there's no rule book.
It's not.
Nobody goes through the same experiences in life. So you have
Right.
to give yourself a little bit of grace. So did you feel like you were losing parts of yourself during that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I was mom. I was wife. I was caregiver. That's all I had time for. Well, and I
Hmm.
was an employee, or I was actually running a small business, a virtual assistant business at that time. So I
Hmm.
had to answer phones. I had to work. I had to do things. And it's just like, I can't work if I have to take care of you. You have to be able
Yeah.
to do a few things on your own, or you're going to have to sit here and wait until I can get to you. So, yes, and again, back to patience, back to patience.
Hmm. Yep. And I'll be honest, it was the same thing with my mom because to get to a point where she could get her transplant, she had to do essentially physical therapy. And that she would do it religiously. She was there, she was in it, and then she got her transplant. And the thing that people don't necessarily understand is all these medications. There's so many medications when you're super ill, when you've had a transplant, and they affect you in ways that nobody can see.
Oh yeah.
Doctors can warn you, they can tell you what these side effects are. That doesn't mean you're going to have those side effects. You could have completely different ones. And who knows how your body's going to respond to it? Who knows what it's going to do to your energy levels, to your mood, to everything. So it really, really does challenge the body, the
Yes.
mind, everything. And then you being the caregiver, but the person who loves this person and sees them so differently now because
Right.
I mean, it has to, you know. So
Right.
after her transplant, my mom's whole desire to do those exercises changed because her energy had changed. Like she was her skin pinked up again and she wasn't on the oxygen and it was great, but other things changed. So she didn't have the same desire to do the workouts. So it changes and then you get a little frustrated sometimes because it's life, we're human beings, and you get frustrated and you say, well, you have to exercise or it's not gonna, what was the point of getting a new lung if you don't exercise? And so she would do it to like make me happy. And she also knew I do need to do this, but there's so many pieces that fall into place with this kind of thing. So you have to have that grace for yourself and for the other person, even though there are moments where you're just like ripping your hair out because they won't eat or they won't get up and move on their own. But yes, they have to take some of that
Definitely.
responsibility into their own hands too.
Definitely.
Yeah. Did you ever have any moments where you're like, I just can't do this? And what did that look like for you if you did?
Oh yeah, I had many. And I would
Mm,
usually do a few things. I could either go out on the front porch and cry my eyes
mhm,
out. I'd scream and holler,
mhm,
cry my eyes out. Or I'd just say, I'm done. I have to go for a ride. And I'd go get in the car and I'd
mhm,
drive for a while. I'd go to Walmart. Walmart became my best friend many, many times. But yes, many times. And then it always was, I'm sorry. I'll try to do better. Him saying, I'm sorry, I'll try to do better to get up and do this and this and this. So yeah, I
mhm.
many, many times it because we did this for 6 or 7 years. So, you know, it
That's
wasn't
a
just
long
like
time.
wasn't just like a couple of months. It was years and years and years.
And it changes you. It really does. And I'm wondering, in that respect, what did you learn about yourself throughout this that maybe surprised you?
I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was or could be.
Mm. Yeah.
My mama raised a good girl. She said, you don't give up. You just keep going. You keep moving forward. She wouldn't let me give up.
Hmm.
I learned that, okay, all right. So I didn't die by that. So let's keep moving forward. And again, it's a do or you don't. And don't
Yeah.
wasn't an option. But I have learned that I'm a lot stronger and can handle a lot more. Not that I want that challenge, God. I don't need that challenge. I think I've proven myself time and time again that I'm stronger than I thought I could ever be.
Hmm. And that gives you the proof in life to know that you can go through hard things and that when something comes up, you can deal with it. You can face it and you're going to get through it.
Yeah.
You're going to get through it. So we've talked about the porch a few times. It just keeps coming up. So how did writing become your outlet through this experience?
So the writing actually started when we found out that he was having issues with his kidneys. So back in
Hmm.
2006, 2007, that's how this all started. We lived in Washington, Missouri. His family was from Sullivan, Missouri, which is about 35 minutes away. Most of his family and friends, that's where he was from, so they were up there. So the porch time was my way of going outside and just telling everyone what was going on. Telling them about okay, this is what's going on with him today. This is his numbers. This is what the doctors are saying. This is our next step into what we have to do to get ready for a transplant. And so it just
Hmm.
became a diary per se that I would post this on Facebook, and all of his family and friends were our friends so they could read. And now I didn't have to make 18,000 phone calls. So that's how it became. And thank God for technology, Facebook kept
Mhm.
all of those things. So believe it or
Yeah.
not, be careful when you put things out there because it's still on the internet. So that's how the
Yeah.
book got formed then. When I decided finally it was time to write that book, I went to Facebook and I grabbed everything and put it in chronological order because sometimes Facebook does goofy things with your post. So that's how that got started.
So it was an outlet to let people know so you didn't have to exhaustively repeat the same thing
Exactly.
over and over and keep having that conversation and be able to get it out of you at the same time so that you're not constantly living only that because you
Right.
still had children. You still had a relationship with him outside of just the illness. You still had friends and family. And that's so important for anybody who's going through any kind of thing like
Right.
this. It's so important to still have all the outlets and to have the people in your life that every conversation is not about the illness. Every experience that you have is not just that. Do you agree with that?
I totally agree with that. If it weren't for my family, my friends, our church family, we wouldn't have survived. We wouldn't have survived.
Yeah.
Not just me, not
Yeah.
just him. We as a family, as a whole.
Yeah.
So yeah, very
Um,
blessed there.
did you feel like the writing, did it feel like it was a choice or did you feel like it was what you had to do to survive?
It's a tough question because I don't know. I don't remember back then. It was
Mhm.
probably something that I felt that I needed to do to keep everyone informed.
Mhm.
It was my way of letting them know that this is not an easy road that we're going down because I had a few F-bombs here and there. It was an outlet. Again, it did help me feel better. And my goal was,
Mhm.
even if I'm writing this in Facebook, if I can help one person that maybe is going through something like this too, maybe it's helping them. And come to find out, I had a friend who was going through cancer treatments at that same time. And
Oh, wow.
I may have known about it, but I don't remember knowing about it. And she's like, Lynn, you saved me. You
Yeah.
writing all of that stuff because my book and my stories were Bible based too, because I couldn't do it without God. And so the Bible
Mhm.
helped me to get through all of that and know that He's there for me. And so when this
Mhm.
friend told me that she was going through cancer, she's like, you saved me. Your verses, your story, everything. So I've helped one person. So that was my goal. I was good.
Yeah. And how many other countless people you could have helped just from the Facebook post, never mind this book, that
Right.
didn't say anything to you. Yeah.
Right.
So you talk a lot about faith being a big part of your journey. How did your relationship with faith shift during this period?
Well, right before we found out that he was to go on dialysis, we started going to a local church.
Mhm.
Because we both were working part-time jobs, we didn't have time, blah, blah, blah. A little snippet out of the book is I used to get Bible verses on my computer every morning. I kept saying, we're not going to be in these part-time jobs forever. We want to go to church. We want to get into church. We want to be a part of a church because my boys needed it. We needed it. I was born and raised Catholic. So both of us actually were, and we kind of stepped away from the Catholic religion. Not that there's anything wrong with it, it just was our preference and our choice at that point. So we got into a Christian church, and he had been baptized. So it was just, I think it was God's way. And of course, I don't know, and I won't know until I get to heaven, but I really think it was God's way of getting us prepared for what was coming to know that
Mhm.
we needed people and we needed to lean on him and our family and friends in the church to survive. Because at
Mhm.
that point, we were in survival mode because we didn't have any other choices. We had to, it was do or die. We can quit dialysis at
Yeah.
any time, and we had those conversations. But he
Mhm.
knew what the outcome would be if he quit dialysis.
Yeah. And so I know that you had told me in the background that you were trying to get a transplant for
We
him.
did. Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about that experience, what
We did.
you went through.
We were at a hospital on the transplant list, often on the transplant list in St. Louis. We also went to Wisconsin, and we also had a live donor that wanted to give a kidney. And so, with anybody, again, with your mom, that there are many tests, many things you have, many hoops you have to jump through. You almost have to be in perfect health to get
Hmm.
that organ that you desperately need to stay alive. But you have to be healthy enough to get it, because if you're not healthy
Right.
enough, you won't get it. So, it's
Right.
kind of a
And
oxymoron.
there's so many pieces to it, so many pieces.
Hmm. Yep.
And
You
like
have
you
to.
said, actually, you said he was on and off the transplant list. Same with my mom. If you got sick, you had to come off. And then
Yep.
once you were healthy again, you could go back on. So if she had a cold or something, she'd have to come off because
Right.
if she was sick, they couldn't do the transplant anyway.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Because if you have an infection, he had to have his teeth fixed. He had to have
Hmm.
heart issues taken care of. He had to have
Yeah.
blood flow issues taken care of. The donor had to make sure that I think at one point they thought maybe that donor tested maybe for hepatitis or something. Maybe it was just a wrong reading. Or even with my husband had a shadow on his liver at one point. So it was just like on and on and on. And we did this, like I said, for 6 years.
Yeah.
It's a lot to put anyone under. And for the person trying to get the transplant, you've got that roller coaster of emotions. You get to a point, and I just found this out. He was in the hospital one time, and they had a men's group would go down to the hospital and visit with him and try to get his spirits up. He called one of his
Mm.
buddies in, and I just found this out, or I don't remember it, but he's called his buddy back in the room before they left, and he's like, I'm to the point where I could just cut these lines and just say I'm done. And his
Mm.
buddy's like, you can't do that. You can't. But I totally understand. And I totally would probably feel the same way. But you can't give up. You have a wife and you have kids. So you keep fighting and you keep pushing.
Yeah. It's such an emotional and physical roller coaster.
Hmm.
And I think that's something that I want people to understand is we hear about organ donation and organ transplants, and it sounds like such a miraculous thing. And oh my God, it is, but there's
It is.
so much behind it.
Right.
And there's so much behind what happens when somebody becomes ill like this. There's caretaking, there's advocacy, it affects the entire family, it affects the extended family,
Right.
friends, it affects everybody in so many ways. And being a caregiver is a difficult job. It's
It
something
is.
that I would never have changed. I would never change that I did it, but it's a very difficult job and it can be very hard and lonely. So having friends and family there to support you is absolutely necessary. And I was actually, when we went in for the decision to go ahead and list, we had to have meetings. And part of the whole conversation was if you don't have more than one person to support you, we will not do this
Right.
because it takes such a toll on the person. So I'm grateful for everybody that I had in my life, and I'm sure you feel the same way.
And, it's not just the transplant, it's the care afterwards. And
Oh,
also
yes.
those meetings, do you have insurance? Do you have your affairs in order? Do you have someone to take care of you? Do you have the funds to buy the medication that is god awful expensive? And if once we do this transplant, if you have this, or this, you need to get to the emergency room immediately because you're probably in failure. And so you
Yeah.
live before the transplant, you live, oh my God, when's that phone call coming? Is my suitcase packed? Is everything ready to go? To after that transplant, oh my God, are you okay? Are you feeling okay today? Are you? It's not just once that transplant's over, it's done because it's a lifelong afterwards.
It's literally, we were told, and it was so true, it's trading one disease for another.
Exactly.
And we did. And with my mom, it was truly such a roller coaster. And it was super highs, super lows. She had failure to thrive at different points. She was admitted for all sorts of different things. We were always in and out of the hospital. And I'm grateful for every single minute I had with her afterwards, but it was an absolute roller coaster.
You're right.
Unfortunately, I do know that he did not make it and he did pass. So tell me a little bit just about that kind of end decision making for both of you, how that worked for you.
Well, I didn't have a choice in the matter. We were at home Memorial Weekend of 2013, gonna spend the weekend. He was just getting ready to go on a week's vacation from work, and at
Mhm,
1 o'clock in the morning, he had a massive heart attack and died in bed. And so I called that he went on permanent vacation.
mhm,
And again, that's in the book. But you have to laugh because God does have a sense of humor. You know, when God takes you go home the way you came into the world, naked. So he didn't
mhm.
have take any of his clothes with him. And I yelled at him for many weeks, your stupid ass clothes is still laying all over the place. So you got to laugh about it. God has a sense of humor and you do. But again, I wouldn't have changed any of it. And I know he's in heaven because I saw it. I saw it at his funeral. If you don't, yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
So,
Can you tell me a little bit about how healing looked for you after going through this long experience?
well, for me, I ran a lot
Hmm.
from the time he passed away until fall. I did a lot of running around. I didn't stay home. My poor boys, again, had to learn to live on their own. But that was okay. They were tired of seeing mom sit around and cry, because I probably have grooves. I stayed in church as much as I could, but church was not a good place for me because every time I walked into church, I saw where we sat. I saw the
Hmm.
funeral. So church was not my best friend.
Hmm.
I learned to love again. I learned to love me again. I learned to do the things that Lynnie wanted to do. Shortly after he passed, I had been working at the time that he passed on a class reunion, so I had that to keep me busy. So we did that from May. I think the class reunion was in September. So I had all those months that I had planning to do, which kept my mind out of what was actually going on. And again, friends and family. So many people would come, and even after the fact of him passing, I still sat on the front porch and I wrote. I typed in my
Hmm.
phone. I did the Porch Time updates. And the updates that I shared were memories of us and
Hmm.
gave people challenges. There are challenges in that book.
Hmm.
Do something for your loved one that is still there. Show them, write them a love letter, even if it's on a piece of toilet paper. Send
Hmm.
them flowers just because. It doesn't have to cost anything. Go sit at the end of the driveway. You'll see if the house catches on fire. The kids will be fine for 5 minutes. Go sit at the end of the
Hmm.
driveway and talk. So, again, I give a lot of my opinions in the book, so I hope that it can help others.
Yes, yes. And that's what's beautiful about writing this. Not only are you able to re relive memories of your times with him, but you're able to help other people because nobody understands what it's like until they go through it. And so to get somebody else's perspective, especially if you get a diagnosis, especially if you get to a point where, all right, we have this and we have to face this now, to see what somebody else has gone through and to see that they did it, they shared, they experienced, and now they're saying to you, I did this and I've got some thoughts for you because, you
Right,
know, you're going to have hard times, but you're going to have beautiful times. And
right.
that's the human experience. And the most important thing out of that is connection. is connecting. You were connected with your husband, you are connected with family, you are connected with friends. So that comes through in your sharing is that connection, but also you're saying, go talk to somebody,
Right.
reach out. Everybody who's going through any kind of experience like this needs support as well.
It's true. Very much. Very much.
Yeah.
And don't do it by yourself. Find
No.
someone who is either going through this or somebody who can just sit there and listen. Just having
Mhm.
somebody listen to all the BS that you go through or going through.
Mm.
Again, if nothing else, if you don't have that person, do a journal because
Yeah.
I've always told people if you're pissed off at somebody, sit down and write them a letter. You don't have to give it to them, but just get that out, get that in writing just to get that off of your chest because
Mhm.
worry, stress, anger, pity, whatever is going to eat you up, and you don't need that. You got to be best for
Literally.
them and you.
Yes.
Yep.
And you can take care of other people as much as you want, but if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not getting that stress out of your body, if you're not getting the emotion out and being able to breathe and have conversations, you're not surviving.
Right.
So,
One of my very best friends told me, she's like, Lynn, our bodies are like wells, and people and life dips out of that well every minute
mhm,
of every day. If you don't do something to replenish that well, it's going to go dry.
yeah.
As a caregiver, you need to find someone, and we were very, very blessed to have his mom stay with us for a while and help us. But she would stay so that I could just go grocery shopping, or I could go get my hair
Mhm.
done, or I could go just have dinner with a friend. You cannot be a full-time caregiver 24/7, 365. You will not survive.
Yeah.
So you
Absolutely.
don't do that to yourself. I wanted
No.
to be
And I love
superwoman, but I learned.
that. We all want to be superwoman and we all think as women that we can do everything and we
Well, we
can, but
can.
dry, if you're running dry, you're
Yep,
not helping anyone else.
you're not.
So that's a huge
Because
important message.
you're dry, your stress level is high, you're going to snap, you're going to yell, you're going to treat that person with the disrespect that they don't deserve. It's not their fault that they're sick. So try
And you're
to
going to make
find
yourself sick.
exactly true.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you're going to hate yourself because
So,
you're ugly.
yeah. So tell me, why did you call it Porch Time with Lynnie? And how do you feel that being out there on that porch, like what does that porch mean to you? Because we've seen it come up, not just with the writing, but with your sitting out there and just breathing and your marriage even out on the porch.
So Lynnie is a nickname that I've had from when I was a little bitty girl. I still have a very good friend who calls me Lynnie, and porch time with Lynn just sounded boring. Um,
Hmm.
it was my porch time that I was doing. It was my time to sit on the porch. So that's how porch time. Why the porch? Because my husband was clear across the other room, end of the house. I was away from him.
Hmm.
The boys were either at school or they were out in the backyard throwing basketballs or locked up in their room playing video games. So the front porch was right off of my main office and it faced the highway. So I could sit there and I could watch cars go by. I had a big, huge front yard and I could see flowers blooming. I could see the dogs and the cats running around outside. And it just became my place to know, forget about everything, but yet do my homework per se, to do
Hmm.
my praying, to do my worrying,
Hmm.
to do my crying. I can remember sitting on my phone so many times, bent over, typing, how we all sit over our legs and type, and knees on the elbow and elbows on knees, and tears were just flowing. And And then I'm like, oh no, I'm crying on my phone. My phones don't like water, so I gotta dry this up. The book itself is very serious at times. There's a lot of humor in it too. And again, Bible based. I've had people say you laugh on one page, you cry on the next page, and that's what they love about it.
Yeah. And it's raw and it's real and it's life. That's what life is, right? Your
Yep.
ups, your downs, your beautiful moments. We are meant to feel everything. And I think one of the big things I'm hearing from you is something that I always say is feel it, but don't live there.
Yeah. True.
Feel it, but you're strong and you're resilient and you can get through it and let it out and feel those moments and share how you're feeling. But also, there's other things in life besides that one moment.
Exactly. Don't let
Yeah.
that one moment define you or define how the rest of your week is going to be. And I'm guilty of that. There are days I told you
Mm-hmm.
before we started this what was going on in my life right now. And I could be sitting here pissing and moaning about it, but I'm not because ain't nothing I can do about it. You just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other
Mm-hmm.
and just keep
So
smiling.
I'm wondering, yeah, I'm wondering who do you feel like you became on the other side of that journey? Once the grieving, I think, is never over, right? I think that, but it takes a different form. I think it changes your life in certain ways because everything we go through changes us. I feel like you can't look back and say, well, I regret being in this relationship because it ended and it was heartbreaking because you had beautiful, beautiful moments in it. So, who do you feel like you've become on the other side of the journey, having gone through all that?
Wow. Again, as I said earlier, I'm stronger than I ever thought I could be. I've kind of given away some of it. I have been a caregiver since, a
Mhm.
different type of caregiving with both my parents and other people. I just feel like there are days I could take on the whole world, and there are days I think, no, don't put me down this road again. So
Mhm.
I don't really know when you ask that, I don't know. I've just learned to be me. I've become more
Mhm.
carefree. I've become less burdened. I've become able to do things, go places. I've my husband in the book, his name is Tracy. Tracy and I planned on traveling because that's what soulmates do. We were going to travel. Well, then illness happened and we didn't get to do the traveling that we wanted. Since then, I've been to Louisiana and Florida and Georgia and Texas and Las Vegas. I've done things and Pennsylvania. I've done things. I wrote a book, things that I never thought I would have done. I don't think I
Mhm.
could have seen myself doing a lot of those things back then.
Mhm.
That person was, of course, I'm a lot more older than back then, more mature. My kids, as I said, are grown, so I can take off and do what I want because my kids are grown and they're big boys and if they can't take care of themselves now, they're never. So I just think I've become a more carefree person. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great because you kind of like go through life and fear can hold us back from so much. But when
Right,
you have those experiences, and like I said with my mom, it taught me that this life, even though it sounds like such a long life, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
right,
And why stop yourself from having experiences? Because that's
right,
what life is supposed to be. It's supposed to be that journey and the experiences. And yes, there are moments that are life defining, but there are also those beautiful moments that you can look at and say, well, I got to travel and I got to see this beautiful area and meet with new people and
right.
gain experiences in life. And I'm happy for you that you have let yourself be more carefree.
I've also
Yeah.
learned to say the word no. No is very
Mm.
important. No. I used to be the party planner of the family. I used to hold the parties. And it got to that point after he passed away that I had to learn no. I can't do this. I need to
Mhm.
do this for me. So no. And anyone, again,
Yeah,
as a caregiver, don't be afraid to say no sometimes because people don't
absolutely.
know what you're going through until they read that book and they still don't know what you went through. Because until you live it, breathe it, eat it, taste it, sleep it, you don't know. So learn to say
Yeah.
no, learn to get out and not be a caregiver for 30 minutes. Go take a bubble bath and somebody else can watch them for that 30 minutes.
Absolutely. It's so incredibly important. And people say that about becoming a parent. You have to take those dates, you have to go out, but it
Definitely.
carries throughout life. It carries throughout your life. You
Right,
can't
it
just
does.
be this one thing all the time.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So for somebody who picks up your book today, what's something that you hope that they feel when they close that last page after reading your book?
You didn't give me these questions ahead of time so I could come up with a good answer.
I love
Um,
to just have the conversation. It's real in the moment.
Nope, that's okay. I hope that they realize one, and we've said it many times, don't give up. Don't beat yourself up. Know
Mm,
that there is life after loss or even during those hard times.
mm,
And don't give up on God. I always say that. God, don't. You need God, tell him you need him, and let him do his magic. I have proof that it works. And
mm.
I'm here if you need me. I'm just an email away.
Yeah. So speaking of that, I would love for you to tell people, and this will be in the show notes so people can check the show notes, but how can people contact you? Where they connect with you?
I'm on Facebook. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. It's called Porch Time with Linney, Facebook. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, but I don't use them as much as Facebook. I have an
Okay.
email address that's called porchtimewithlinney@gmail.com. I just launched a new website, Porch Time with Linney. So that's there. I have my book. That is what my book looks
Okay.
like. And on the
Mhm.
back is my little
Yeah,
picture.
love it. Yep.
There are
Love it.
pictures in the book. So
Okay.
that those pictures
Oh,
are, they coincide with the story that's there. And the
mhm,
story is done in chronological order by days, like March 3rd, March 7th.
mhm,
So whenever I sat on the porch and wrote, that's when I had updates. Sometimes there's two or three entries for a day.
mhm.
Sometimes it goes on for 2 or 3 pages because there's just so much to share.
Yeah. It was
So
whatever you needed to share at the moment.
exactly.
I want to thank you so much for sharing your heart and your authenticity here with us and your story
Thank you.
because it's so important for people to hear these things, to know that there's light at the end of every tunnel, but there's also so many experiences to go through in life and that we all need each other. We need each other to hear each other's stories because our stories are impactful. We need each other to support us when we're going through the hard times and when we're going through the good times. And that life is this journey and every moment can be beautiful, but there's also hard moments. And then it's okay to say that you're in a hard moment. It's okay to open up and tell people how you're feeling. It's okay to cry. It's okay to scream and it's okay to just sit and be sometimes and let everything go for a little bit.
Right.
We're
Definitely.
complex people. Yeah. So tell me, my last question that I love to ask everybody, what does living a life beyond BS look like or mean for you?
Well, if we're talking the bullshit,
Mm,
again, learn to say no. Learn to say no.
mhm,
Learn to believe in yourself. Learn to trust that you are smarter than you think you are. You are stronger than you think you are. And just because there is a light at the end of the tunnel doesn't always mean it's a train.
mhm.
We had a few trains, but there was still light at the end of the tunnel sometimes. So don't give up. Don't give up. Trust, visit, believe. And again, I'm here if you just need to send me a 5-page email. I promise to reply back. It might take me a couple days, but I will reply back.
Yeah. What a heartfelt message. And everybody go do yourself a favor and get this book because the authenticity pours out.
Was going to say it's on Amazon. You can order it from
Mhm.
my website also. If you order it from my website, it's a little bit cheaper than Amazon, but you'll get a signature where you won't get it from Amazon.
Oh,
And it's
nice.
also now, I became #1 best-selling author a couple weeks back because of my
Oh,
sales. I had
yes.
about 855 people download my book. And so it brought
That's
me up to
amazing.
#1 best-selling author for that day, that hour or two, but hey, I still did it. And
Yep.
also on Walmart.com. And I didn't put it there.
Excellent.
So you can find it anywhere.
Yeah.
But if you want an autograph, you have to order it from my website or find me at a vendor fair,
Yeah.
Missouri.
Well, all the information on how you can contact Lynn, but also how you can get that book will be in the show notes. So head over there. And again, I want to thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
real, raw, authentic self, sharing who you are, sharing this journey, and you're going to help other people who are experiencing something similar. So thank you so much.
Thank
And I
you.
want to say thank you all for listening. Thank you so much for sharing this space today with me and with Lynn. My hope is that you walk away knowing that you have the power to choose differently. Go live fully, freely, and unapologetically. Your life beyond BS starts now. I'm so grateful you were here today. Remember, your peace, joy, and happiness aren't found in the BS. They're found in your choices. If this episode spoke to you, please rate, review, follow, and subscribe, and share it with a friend. For ways to connect or work with me, check the show notes or visit heathermcnally.com. Until next time, keep choosing you and keep living your life beyond BS.